the regular Binance that the world uses is different than Binance US.
I love the idea of solo mining, and you get one
Plus,
block.
I still have that money in Anthropic API credits.
Right, g'day everyone. It's Ash and Bobby here from the Smoke Room podcast. No Dave tonight, but thanks for joining us. This is the podcast where we chat about all things, well, Bitcoin, AI, and whatever. It's a bit of a shit talk, really, but thanks for joining us. And Bobby, how you going, mate?
Going good, yeah.
It's good
Another
to
week and
another
another
week without David.
trying to get ahead.
I quite like these podcasts without DC. I think we're on a bit of a roll here. We always come up with all the good stuff. I reckon. I think last few times you and me have spoken on our own, we've hit some jackpot little discussions. I don't know
Yeah,
if we're
we
going to be able
broke
to
the
repeat that
open
tonight.
claw story.
I don't know if we'll be able to repeat that tonight. Might have jinxed it, but I'm keen to hear what you've been up to the last week.
Yeah, so last week I've been doing more with OpenClaw. I've been trying to create reports and not going great, but yeah, getting some progress, learning how to use it.
I think it's been a big week for OpenClaw too, right? Yeah, I think it's been about a month now. I think where it's been on everyone's tip of everyone's tongue, and everyone's been. I'm not gonna say whinging. Whinging's not the right word. Complaining is not the right word, but probably raising or making it aware that this could be potentially big security risk for people to use.
Oh yeah,
Especially
I've heard a lot about the security risks.
it's been quite out in the open a bit, right? So a lot of people are talking about, hey, this is a big security risk, especially giving an AI open access to your PC. It's not really a full AI, but let's just say, yeah, you're giving it a lot of access if you don't do this right. So when we get into this discussion, we'll talk a bit about how we set this up correctly and maybe make it a little bit more secure. But I'm really interested in, I guess, in the last week, there's been a lot of updates and improvements to OpenClaw, especially in the security space. And I'm not sure if you know the name, but there's a guy in Australia here, Jamison O'Reilly, from a security company called Devon. So I follow Jamie on LinkedIn. So shout out to Jamie. It'd be great if you can respond to some of my DMs, mate. Thank you. But he's reached out to the guys at OpenClaw and had a bit of a conversation, I think, and raised some of his concerns, and they've actually appointed him as an advisor to OpenClaw, which has been really good.
Oh
So I can
wow, that's
see,
awesome.
yeah. So I think I think the security of the platform in general, and then some of the things it can do, is going to improve over time. Obviously, I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of applications, whether it's an AI thing or not, is purely just developers, right? Developers always go and build things and deploy them, and maybe not have much of a security background or understand what they're doing. So it's good to have some real security knowledge and expertise jumping in
Yeah,
now and going,
especially
okay,
now with vibe coding. Like the
yeah,
big thing with OpenClaw is the skills. And if you're just vibe coding a skill and you don't really know what goes into it, maybe there's a
yeah,
vulnerability. Or
100%.
maybe if you're downloading skills, maybe it's actually malicious.
I think that's one of the things that was raised quite a bit, right? Is this thing called Claw Hub, and it's not Maltbook. So Claw Hub is effectively your GitHub for OpenClaw, effectively, and it probably is just GitHub, really. But the idea is it's a marketplace for skills that other OpenClaw agents effectively have built, and the owner of those agents have published to OpenClaw. Oh, sorry, Claw Hub. So the idea, I guess the issue there is that if you're picking up these skills that other people have developed, you don't know if you're actually picking up a bit of malware or something that's leaking some of your credentials or something like that. And I guess that's one of the things that I saw Jamison actually raise and discuss. And there was some talk about building Virus Total into some of the workflows at least. So at least if you loaded in a new open open claw hub skill. I'm getting too many claw hubs and claudies and multis.
Yeah, the naming
Um,
conventions are awful with this.
it's changed
I
about
learned
50
about
times
the
in the last week.
history of the 3 names in 1 week, and I was like, "Oh, wow, this is bad." Yeah,
But I think, yeah,
so I think in Claw Hub, every skill inside of Claw Hub is scanned by VirusTotal. So if you're only downloading from Claw Hub, at least you have VirusTotal.
yeah.
I know that's
And
not
look,
the end all be all.
and this is one of those things, right? This is new. This is a brand new thing that I think Jamison actually recommended, and they've hooked into the platform, I guess. So I think you'll see a lot of new changes and a lot of better guidance around how to secure this platform if you're going to use it. And I think that's, yeah, a little. I'm going to say overdue. This is still very new, but I think it's all heading in the right direction. If you ask me, I think the amount of power in OpenClaw if you use it appropriately, and without doing stupid things. I think the amount of power and automation and stuff you can bring to your life is pretty amazing, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. I think the whole Molt book part of it is what got it really popular way
quite
too early.
quite viral.
Yeah, because it went so viral so early, they weren't ready for it, and there's tons of flaws in it, but now that they have the attention, it's like they're trying to get better and should be more stable, more secure, and yeah, I think the future for OpenClaw is good.
And it's quite interesting, actually. Not just those few little changes that I mentioned, but it's got a whole trust portal. I'm not going to say portal; it's a trust page now, which trust.openclaw.ai. And it spells out the security program, if you will. So, what's covered there, and it basically says, nothing is out of scope from a security program perspective. So they're looking at everything. They're looking at the CLI, which is obviously the command line. You've got the gateway, which is the main, I guess, service which OpenClaw runs. You've got different engines that sit around that. You've got integrations with things like WhatsApp, Discord, and Telegram, and whatnot. And then you've obviously got those desktop applications. I haven't used that. Have you used that desktop application at all?
No, I didn't know there was one. I just used
Yeah.
the
So,
OpenClaw gateway.
and then there's a phone app, different services. So obviously there's Claw Hub, the documentation website, and a bunch of other stuff apparently. So yeah, they're looking at everything. They're going to be as transparent as possible, and yeah, looking at all the different risks that could come up in using AI. So in terms of prompt injection, API keys and how to secure those properly and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, really,
Yeah, I
really
already
interested to see what
noticed that
happens.
if you go into the raw config settings, it now shows OpenClaw redacted for any API keys, and I was like, that's good.
And it's pretty good.
Before, it would just show the whole API key.
Love it. All right, well, so let's jump into, I guess, what you've been doing this week. Like, so I, I, I mean, we've really gone off track with the podcast the last few weeks, and we haven't really covered investments or anything like that. So it might be a good little time to just check back in and see where you're at. What are you investing in? What are you working on?
Yeah, investing, still buying more Bitcoin, still mining Bitcoin. I'm solo mining, so I'm not actually mining much Bitcoin right now. But if I hit the block, it'll be good. Um, Yeah,
And
I told you a couple weeks ago that I increased my DCA to daily with the supercharge now. So I'm buying a whole lot more. and yeah, that's pretty much
And
it.
and so you were using that BitAxe as well, right? So are you using? Did you get a new machine as well? I believe. I think we spoke about that. But did you get a new mine node?
Yeah, so I have the BitAxe, which is just usually around like 1.4 to 1.6 terahash. And then also I have the Avalon Q, which gets about like 93 to 97 terahash.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So do you average? So I assume you're using a pool for your mining, right? So you must be averaging a certain amount every week in terms of sats you're
I
getting.
was when I was pool mining, but since the difficulty adjustment has gone down so much as of late, basically since like late November, early December, it's been on a constant downward trajectory. I've been solo mining because it's easier to get a block, so I can actually get one, but no, I haven't gotten one yet.
I guess they call it the block lottery, don't they, or something like that. So
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I'm lottery
solo,
mining right now.
which is I think part of the I guess the allure to some people is for me especially I love the idea of solo mining and you get one block, what's it, three point something Bitcoin,
Yeah,
or is it three?
3.125 plus transaction fees.
I mean, if you're only mining for a week and you get that, oh, amazing. Unlikely,
Yeah, that would be
but
nice.
with how many? It's every, is it 12 minutes? I think it was, wasn't it, or is it
10
6 minutes?
minutes.
10 minutes, yeah. So
Yeah.
how many is that in a day? You got 60, no, 6 times
144.
24, 144. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a when you think about that, that's a fair bit of money floating around every day. 144 times
Oh,
three
yeah.
Bitcoin. That's what's that? That's 400 about 450 Bitcoin every day that's just being generated out of thin air, which is
Yeah, it's
pretty crazy. That's
really
pretty
cool.
crazy. Set in
Yeah.
dollars, like what's that in real US dollars? That's a lot, isn't it? That's
With the current volatility, who knows?
yeah, 400 times
Yeah.
60,000. What's yeah? Need a calculator. What
Yeah.
is that?
400? Where are you getting 400?
450. Sorry, times 60,000 is $27 million every day in rewards for
Yeah.
mining rewards. That's actually pretty insane. That's a lot of
Yeah.
money just being generated every day just by Bitcoin being turned on. Right, that's pretty crazy. Let's move on. So, how many Sats of Bitcoin does your Bitcoin mining actually produce in a week? Then, at that rate,
Um,
if you're on a pool, just out of curiosity,
yeah, in a pool, I was making like around 4,000 per week. No, per day.
that's, so that's what 0.04 Bitcoin or something, or is it just a bit less than that
No, so it was about $3.80, I think.
a week?
No, a day.
A day. I was about to
Yeah.
say $3 a week. No, no good.
No.
I think we've done that. We've done those calculations to death, haven't we? We always bring this up. It's really interesting to understand because I guess I want to jump into your OpenClaw exploits of the week, right? So, we've kind of set ourselves a little goal here of using OpenClaw to probably, I don't know if the word is improve our trading or what, but really, I guess seeing where we're going with that, and we went a bit in depth last week on, my strategy around using Profit Trailer and how to, I guess, not influence, but identify altcoin trades and things like that, and applying the right risk strategies to my automated trading. But I guess if in your case, it's a bit more up about probably when to buy into Bitcoin or when to sell it. Is there anything else, any other sort of strategy you're thinking of?
Yeah, so I can show you actually because I've been planning it out at least.
You've been planning that with just a Word doc, or what's planning look like for you?
With the Grok project.
A Croc project.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. So can you hear that? Can you see
Yeah,
that?
well, you can see that.
Yeah, so here's my OpenClaw hedge fund project. So basically all of this is, well, I mean, this is, does it even work? So just checking out if like this is even possible and what I would have to use to do that. And then I have conversations for all these different topics like project management, trading strategies, risk management, all these. So basically just planning it out right now. And then maybe next week actually going and doing it.
So your plan here is it to, I guess, have OpenClaw hitting APIs to do trades, or is it, yeah, you just want it to give you some information and say, hey, maybe now's the time to buy or sell?
Both really. Yeah, I'm planning on getting market data from CoinGecko, and then once I actually get to trading, possibly Binance. Seems like their API is pretty good.
Yeah, I reckon. I've always had I was saying a good run, but I've always used the Binance APIs. I've Yeah, they just work. I don't know how you can compete with it really. I mean, maybe on fees, and then Binance got a really good fee strategy. I guess if you buy some of their Binance coin, you can offset some of your fees, which is pretty good. So um, it might be good to stick with that. I know I'm sticking with it. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
need
So
to look into what the differences are because I know Binance, like the regular Binance that the world uses, is different than Binance US. So I gotta see what
okay.
exactly is different.
Yeah, I think in Australia, you can really only use the spot kind of trading, so it's quite literally like buying and selling shares, right? But in a 24/7, much more liquid, faster kind of way. So everything on Binance, well, most of it anyway, is um, you're trading constantly, right? So there's probably 20 odd, I reckon 20 odd alts or pairs, if you will, that are constantly trading, and then you've got a lot of smaller coins and things like that, which probably have a little bit less liquidity, and you don't want to touch those, right? So are you planning on sticking to just straight Bitcoin US dollar trading, or
Yeah,
what's your
so
plan?
I'm planning on trading Bitcoin in USD pairs, so probably with USDT or USDC just to make it more liquid.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And so you'll probably, what will you do there? Will you just give it, I guess, let's just use $10,000 as a round figure. Throw that into Binance and then let it go. Like, what's your strategy, or what are you planning around that?
Yeah, so kind of how I'm doing it is, you know the I don't know if Aussie football is this way, but like European football where they have like the Premier League and then the lower leagues and like four teams get relegated and four teams go up to the Premier League and that.
Yeah, no, we don't, but
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I understand it.
yeah, so kind of like that. So the Premier League is going to be the bots that actually trade with real money, and then I'm going to have lower league where the bots just paper trade, just
Okay,
to suss out strategies, see what strategies work, kind of tighten that.
yeah, interesting. And in terms of strategies, have you done any research into what that looks like, or has it really been a Grok has kind of given you some ideas, or?
Yeah, I'm really relying on Grok to do that because I haven't really done a whole lot of trading. So I don't know all the strategies and learning risk management and all that.
Yeah, I think it can get really quite interesting. I mean, I probably went a bit too deep with it last week on our podcast, but do you recall I brought up that trading view graph, right? And I've got all these like little arrows and things everywhere, and different indicators and things like that. And I guess for me, it's a combination of different indicators. So if this and if that and if that, then buy. But if it's not, if one of them's not working, then it doesn't buy it, right? So I think having those parameters and sticking to them's the hard bit, and then having appropriate take profit and stop losses and things like that, I think is really important. Um, but yeah, I guess in terms of systematizing or getting that automated, what have you done with OpenClaw? Have you built any skills, or what is it? What do you envisage it's going to look like for you?
Well, so far I've mostly just done reports on mining statistics and having that sent to a Discord server that I have and checking up on mining conferences and basically just info, not actually running any trades or anything like that.
I think that's a really good strategy in terms of using OpenClaw too, right? Is you're starting by testing the waters, getting it to actually give you, I guess, some value. Find information, read information, and bring it back to you and see what it looks like. Instead of getting it to go out and execute, it's kind of going out, reading information, and then kind of analyzing it and bringing it back to you and letting you make that decision before you actually let it loose and do lose money and things like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And also on that, trying to like limit the blast radius if anything goes wrong is I'm working on making some Proxmox templates so that I can easily spin up some VMs that already have like some good security settings set and OpenClaw on there and whatever trading I have. And then also some Docker Compose files and maybe like working on Ansible playbooks to kind of automate this setup so that when uh, like the orchestration bot learns that there's going to be other strategies that people are talking about are profitable, it can just spin up another bot and start paper trading with that strategy and learning if it's actually profitable.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Orchestrating bots. So this is something I'm,
Yeah.
I'm really interested in. I'm not sure if it's you know, do you spin up additional Docker containers, or do you I see there's a function in there called agents, right? But I'm not sure. I haven't dug into it yet. Whether you have to spin up a new container to run a new agent, or can you create new instances within your existing instance? I guess so. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
interested to
I
see how
looked
that works.
into it a bit, not a whole lot, but I see that you can like make other agents and they can have like their own soul.md and their own context, or you could just have it rely on the soul of the main bot.
Or have no soul.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that works. So I guess so we've probably gone down the same path, I think, with Docker. Tell me about your journey with Docker.
My journey with Docker is great. My journey with OpenClaw's Docker is very weird. Like they straight up say, "Hey, run this shell script. Just download it from our GitHub and run this shell script." I'm like, I don't like that. Like, why don't you just publish your image to Docker Hub and we can just make it that way?
And I think they might
I
have
don't
done
like
that
it.
in the last few weeks. So I'm not 100% sure. Um, but yeah,
I
I
know
I totally agree
Alpine
with you.
has, like the Alpine Linux team, and a couple other people have put it up on Docker Hub, but I don't think OpenClaw officially has yet.
Interesting, because I think from a software update perspective, so I use the same method as you, right? You do a git clone of the, I guess, the repo, and then you run the Docker setup shell script, and then it goes and builds your Docker container and deploys it, and then it runs this onboarding script kind of thing. Um, yeah, so I ran that as well, and I think that the update process is not very clear at the moment. So I think I'm running on version 26.2 or 3 or something, but it's up to 26.14 or something, or 26.2.14 or something like that. So I'm very keen to understand how to update that, and it might just mean I have to blow it away and create a new one so that I get whatever the
Yeah, I
latest
guess you would
is.
have to,
But
like, re-download the or I guess just
yeah,
re-clone the Git repository and then do it
also
that way?
there was there was some stuff I read, and it was like run a Git pull and do a update, I guess, of your Docker container, and I tried all that, but it ended up running the same the same version. It's like, come back, yep, you're running 2026.2 or something. I was like, ugh, that's what I was running. Like, I was already running that, and it obviously hasn't updated anything. So I don't know if it worked. I don't know, but yeah, I need to get some of these new features, some of the security stuff in there. Um, I think I'm just
Oh,
going to
yeah.
blow it away. I'm just going to clone it again and start from scratch and just copy my data files in, right?
Yeah, that's why it's ridiculous that they don't just have an image on Docker Hub. Because if they had an image on Docker Hub, you can just point to latest, and then whenever there's an update, just redeploy, and then it just
Yeah,
automatically pulls up latest.
that'd be ideal. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think what's next for your OpenClaw? Like, are you going to be building any skills, or have you tried building skills, and where did you get to with that?
Um, I'm not sure if I'm going to be making skills that might be useful, but there's already a lot of skills out there that I could be using.
I think
Have you made any skills?
I have. Yeah, I think this is one of the things I really like about OpenClaw, actually, and I think I don't know. I don't know about you. I've racked up a lot in API usage. So I probably
No,
probably
I haven't because the first thing I looked into is how to optimize for cost because I'm like, I don't have the money to spend on
yeah.
this.
And
Yeah,
I'm
I was
quickly getting to that point where I'm like, okay, I'll spend $100 on API usage. Um,
oh yeah.
maybe I need to try something else. So um, this is where I think the skills are really important, is to understand what you actually should be running with standard AI, like API calls. Um, so instead of calling Anthropic or OpenAI every time you ask it a question, which I think it probably does anyway, how can I pick the right model for starters? So picking a better conversational model. So maybe you use ChatGPT 4.0 or 4.0, whatever it is. It's which doesn't exist anymore. I think they got rid of it. Or maybe you use a local LLM model like Qn, Qn,
When?
um, Quen. I
Yeah, I
don't know
heard
what
of
it's called.
when.
Um,
Yeah, or
so
you could just
this is
use like GPT OSS from OpenAI.
Yeah, so I think this is something I'm really interested in playing with, and I've spent a bit of time today trying to get it to work, and ultimately failed. So again, this is where I think I need to to run some of these updates and see what happens. But
Yeah, also
when
you gotta look at like, do you have the hardware to do this? Because don't you have like a 30 series
yeah,
card?
3070,
30.
so I thought
Yeah,
it would run really bad, to be honest, but I've been running Olama with the QN. I think it's a 2 billion parameter model, and it's sure it's a bit slow. It takes some basic stuff like tell me. Actually, I asked it who's the current opposition leader in Australia, and it got it wrong because it changed yesterday. Um, so I asked it who's the current opposition leader in Australia, and then it's like immediately it's like it's currently 2023, so I think it's this person, but I need to check. And then it went out and searched the internet, and it came up with Susan Lee, who was the opposition leader a few days ago, when it changed, yesterday or the day before. So it's now a guy named Angus Taylor. So it actually responded and said it's Susan Lee, but it should be Angus Taylor. So it got it wrong, but I'll allow it because it's it's new news. But it 8 seconds, 8 seconds to get that response with a lot of thinking, a lot of going out to the internet and querying things, and I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
For a
that's not
llama,
terrible.
I did notice my all of the fans on my PC. I've got a fairly decent PC. It's got a hell of a lot of fans on it, and they're tuned to obviously ramp up with CPU temperature and or just general temperature in the case, and it was just humming along, and then it just kind of ramped up like as while I was doing the prompt,
Yeah.
and then it ramped down again. So you can kind of tell when I'm running some AI prompts, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
last year I went really big into local AI, both LLMs and image models and video models, speech text models, and oh my god, yeah, the fans ramp up so much.
I think it's worth looking at for reducing your costs, though, right? Because I think for a lot of that
Yeah.
standard stuff, especially when you're talking about skills and using skills in OpenClaw, I think you can really optimize your costs by using local LLM, for a lot of the basic stuff, right? So the day to day thinking behind OpenClaw, chuck it on a local LLM, put it on something like Qwen, Quen, on the 2 billion parameter model or something, because it doesn't take a lot of memory. I've got an RTX 3070, so it's a decent card, but it's not the biggest, best, greatest. You can probably pick one of these up for $500 somewhere. Um, 8 gig of VRAM, so it's capable, but it's not. It's not OpenAI. It's not the same as going on ChatGPT and getting an instant response. It's gonna take a little bit of time. But I think for the day to day running of your own OpenClaw, I think that's fine. Like, you don't need the accuracy, unless you're actually going for that thinking kind of model where you want to analyze stock prices and things like that, and then you've got the option, right, to punch it out to Anthropic or or ChatGPT or whatever other cloud based models you want. Um, so yeah, I think what did you use? Which model did you set yours up with?
Yeah, so what I've seen and what I've used is Kimi K 2.5 from Moonshot AI.
Okay,
I've done that and that's been very cheap. And I've heard also for the heartbeat you can use Gemini and they have like a free tier. So just for that heartbeat that's constantly like running requests, use
interesting.
that. And yeah, you save a ton of money. I spent $20 in API credits and they gave you 5 on top of that.
That's cool. A free tier with Gemini. I did not know about that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. So is that something you go into? You go into Gemini and find your API key and then just load it in there. Is that
Yeah, it's a very specific one. I haven't done that. I've just done the Kimi K.
interesting? Kimmy, I haven't heard of this Kimmy K one. What? Tell me about Kimmy K.
Yeah, it's great. It's Chinese.
That's a deep sea.
Yeah. Yeah, so don't ask it about Tiananmen Square or anything.
Look, so if you go to the website for this thing, it says down the bottom, it says Kimmy Claw is ready. So one click open claw works 24
Oh,
7.
cool.
That's
Is
pretty
that like
cool.
a VPS or what?
Let's have a look here. Configured with Kimmy K2.5 thinking, ready to use skills. Oh, yeah, I don't know. It just
Nice.
says create chat with Kimmy for free. It just sounds dodgy.
Yeah, I haven't tried that. I've just done the API credits through OpenClaw.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, it's really cheap. I used like $3 in a day of Anthropic credits, and I used $5 in about a week and a half of
Wow,
Moonshot.
that's pretty
Yeah.
good. Because I think when we first were looking at this, I think I used something like $13 in one day on
Yeah.
OpenAI. So,
Anthropic is very expensive.
well, this was OpenAI, so it was even more expensive.
Oh, okay.
And that was with I guess the you know 5.2 model or whatever it is. So it was
Yeah.
sucking straight out of my wallet. So I think
Yeah, I don't
let's
think Kimmy K is quite on the level of Claude Opus 4.6, but I mean it's almost as good and it's way cheaper. Plus I still have that money in Anthropic API credits, so if I ever need it, I can just be like, "Hey, OpenClaw, use Claude for this."
yeah, fair enough. I think let's just go back to skills really quickly. So one of the ideas, I was talking about cost optimization there, so optimizing obviously your LLM spend, but I guess also instead of going out to API land every time there's a prompt, so obviously there's processing a lot of your prompts and everything locally or with a low cost LLM, which is ideal, right? And then you've got the idea of skills and tools. So these are things that I guess run locally. So skills, the skills are actually defined in two ways. You've got the Markdown file, which defines, it's almost like a README file, which the LLM can interpret and understand how to use the skill. So you still have that LLM aspect every time you make a query, regardless, right? So that's where your cheap LLM comes into play. And then there's the actual Python script or whatever script it is that sits in the background, which actually runs the skill. And I think this is where you can really be powerful in terms of how you actually get it to do things cheaply. So, you're talking about querying Bitcoin prices, or doing trades and things like that. So all of those things, effectively, you want to implement as code in your skills. So you want to have a skill that's implemented as code. So the idea there is, repeatable things. You create skills for, and instead of the bot figuring out, oh hey, I've got to go call this API. Let's go look up the documentation. Let's you know set it up so that it's we send the right request and all that kind of stuff, because that's how you would scaffold it, right? If you're a developer or if you're Anthropic and you're building the API query dynamically from a prompt, I imagine it'd be a lot of back and forth thinking, querying, and then eventually you'd get this prompt that would execute. Otherwise you'd put that into a skill. So building those as skills, yeah, that's gonna yeah, decrease your spend dramatically, I imagine. So um,
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think,
so maybe it would be good to make skills for like each trading strategy, whether that's like momentum trading or mean reversion or whatever.
and I think even your heartbeat and anything related to heartbeat, so things that need to run on a regular basis, cron jobs, for example, you want that to be skills and tool based, so that it's all running locally. Like ideally, it's just like a script that runs, calls an API, and maybe it updates something, but it's not requiring a whole bunch of LLM usage every time it runs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I was thinking like the reports that I'm doing now, maybe I should convert those into skills and maybe it would be more reliable.
Yeah, it might be. This is something I played around with, and I'm just trying to think of the actual use case I had now. But one, for example, was just reading news, and so yeah, and this is one of the powerful things about OpenClaw. You can actually make OpenClaw or ask OpenClaw to create the skill for you, right? So you say, hey, I want to create a new skill that goes out and searches news websites for topic blah, right? So because I work in cybersecurity, I naturally have one that goes out there and looks at about 100 different websites and pulls back, the latest news results. So what I've actually done is create a skill that has effectively a JSON file which has all the website lists, websites in it as a list. It's got a whole bunch of RSS feed um, URLs sitting in it, and then basically it runs on a cron job, so it doesn't do anything with LLM. The LLM created the code for the skill, and then the skill just runs on a regular basis, and then there's a cron job that will check that every, say, 4 hours to kind of summarize all the news articles that it's pulled back. So all of
Yeah, that's a
the
great use for it.
yeah, so all of the fetching part, all of the actual hard work is actually done as scripts, and then it stores it as JSON files, within that OpenClaw data model, and
Yeah.
then OpenClaw is actually summarizing that, and so it's picking it up, sending it to the LLM, and summarizing it. So instead of running, hundreds and hundreds of LLM calls, it's doing one at the very end with all the data that it's already picked up. So
That sounds
uh,
pretty good. I think I'm gonna experiment with that this week then.
yeah, I think that's I feel like that's a really good way of I guess optimizing it. I guess the trick there is obviously how real time do you want your decision pipeline with OpenClaw. So if it sees a new news article and you think, oh, okay, that has to be acted on immediately or within half an hour or something like that, then I guess you've got to summarize that data more regularly and use more calls. But yeah, that's where yeah,
Well, couldn't she also do that by speeding up the heartbeat?
I guess you could, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked quite a bit about OpenClaw tonight. I am really interested in going to bed, but also, what are we doing over the next week?
The next week I'm probably going to be continuing working on this project and the infrastructure of it.
Absolutely. I think there's just so much to do, isn't there? Like,
Oh yeah.
there's every time you make a new prompt, it's like, oh, I'd love to do this, oh, I'd love to do that. And then you've also got the technical debt of running a Docker container and tidying it up and all of that. But
Yeah, I
um
feel like us security-minded people, there's more that goes into it, like running it
100%.
inside of Docker containers, inside of VMs, on your local hardware. Make sure nothing
And
else is installed, and yeah.
and don't even get started on buying a Mac Mini, right? So I think that's another thing. I don't know how Apple's going right now, but I imagine their share price has gone a little bit ballistic over the last few weeks,
Yeah,
and
it's ridiculous.
even I've considered buying a Mac Studio, but then I saw it was going to be 16 grand, so maybe not. But
Yeah,
there
I'm like,
is
I have my Proxmox right here, I'm just going to spin up VMs on it. I'm not gonna buy a Mac Mini just for this.
I think it does tie really well into the conversation we've been having about LLMs and running them locally because with the Apple Mac Studio, you can run the Ultra M3 processor M3 Ultra, sorry, whatever you call it. You've got I think 128 or 256 gig of RAM or something, but it's directly attached to the CPU, right? So you consider a NVIDIA GPU, it's got to go between your CPU and your GPU. You've got to go through the PCI bus, and that's slow. That's inherently slow. Whereas the Mac has put the RAM like directly next to the CPU or the I guess the AI
Yeah, the
function is in the
unified memory
CPU.
is
Yeah,
really nice on those chips.
which
Like,
is
if you don't
amazing.
need CUDA, yeah, get a Mac with
Yeah, 100%.
way more RAM.
So again, we've touched a lot on OpenClaw tonight, and even the last few weeks, we've spoken a fair bit about it. We've spoken a lot about Bitcoin. We've spoken a lot about property in Australia and potentially other places in the world. We've talked about remote work, whether in Australia or overseas. I'd love to get your comments below. If what are you interested in? Have you been enjoying our OpenClaw content? Have you been enjoying Bitcoin, property? Hit us up in the comments below. And as always, like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying what you're seeing. We really would love to get your feedback, see how we're going. And yeah, we look forward to the next podcast. Hopefully, we get DC back. Are you going to be in here next week, Bobby?
Yeah, I'm planning every week.
Well, maybe I'll drop off next week. We'll see what happens. But everyone,
Fingers
have a great
crossed.
time. Have a great week, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
See ya.